Welcome to the Around the Block podcast presented by PrepVolleyball.com. We're your hosts, Jimmy Pompeo and Sam Heyman, here to give you the inside scoop on all things prep. All right, welcome back to Around the Block, Prep Volleyball's premier pod, hosted by Jimmy Pompeo and Sam Heyman. Today we're discussing quality qualifiers. So we're talking about all the events we went to this season, all the events, the major events that are hosted throughout the club season. So we're very excited about this because the season is finally over. We can decompress. We're going to have a little fun today. We're going to take a step away from all the rankings and the awards because I think Sam would agree we're both absolutely burnt out from doing all this stuff.
You guys just did too good of a job, as usual. You know, you make it tough on us, but we love it.
Yes, sir. All right. So how many events do we attend during club season? So this year we did, I believe, 30 events, which I have an interesting statistic on here. So I don't know about you, Sam, but for me, I look at my steps every day of each event. So I walked an average of 11,000 steps a day in the convention halls.
Just in the halls.
Just in the halls, which equates to 5 miles a day, which means I'm walking 15 miles an event for a 3-day event. That means as a staff, with all 5 of us combined over 30 events, we walked over 450 miles.
Yeah, we're built different. You know, it's but that's what it takes. That's what it takes. You got to put in the steps.
Yeah, we got a lot of sport core under our feet. You know?
Well, and we've got, you know, there's a lot of players to get out there and see, and I don't, you know, as much as, you know, we could probably put in 20,000 steps, and I still don't think we'd be able to cover all of the teams, the athletes that deserve recognition for what, you know, from what we're doing. But, you know, we'll try and bump it up.
Yeah. Okay. Let's bump it up. All right. So how do we select which events we attend?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing, and we've talked about it for sure, is, you know, trying to get a large cross section of teams. Certainly, if we have, you know, a highlight on any athletes that were, you know, really interested in being able to get to see play, you know, that's important. But if we can get a geographical diversity from the teams coming from different, you know, locations in the country, so we can kind of get a flavor for what's happening around the country. That certainly helps as well. So, and I think if we can get, you know, 2 or 3 of our age groups that we'll cover as well, that definitely helps. So, you know, the organizing committees from a lot of the tournaments are getting their processes really streamlined. It's being, you know, access to be able to attend the events, and then, you know, services while we're there, really great. So we're more than happy to get out there and see all the different places that we can see and meet as many people as we can. So, you know, that I think those are the big things.
Well, absolutely. And I'd say, like, outside of the events where we have showcases, because obviously we have to go to those ones. You know, if you get an event where it's a big crowd, diverse teams from all over the country, and really good competition, you've hit the trifecta. Like, that's the type of event that we really strive to try and hit, because it helps us with our rankings, with our coverage, seeing more teams from across the country. It ticks all the boxes for us. So what does day-to-day event coverage look like?
I personally shoot for a big day one because we have everybody in contention. So I like to focus on a little bit of everything, try and get as many of the top performers as possible. And then, you know, as the natural progression of the tournament goes on and teams kind of fall out of the running for the gold bracket or championship bracket or top, you know, billing, whatever it may be, you know, then we focus our highlights on the teams as we circle up to the championships and all tournament teams. So, you know, that's kind of I guess, part of the method. But in terms of looking for player impact and performance, I think it's relative to each team and the impact that individual players are making on their squads. So, you know, there certainly may be somebody who in our rankings and our focuses. Maybe some of our pre-event coverage has gotten a little attention, and maybe, day one, day two, they don't necessarily see some of the later on highlights and features, and that's because maybe we're just trying to spread the love around to some of the other athletes that we haven't had a chance to see play. So what's great is that we oftentimes know about people coming into events, and then we get to learn more about their team. We get to see them play more, so we see different facets of everybody's game, and we have an opportunity to see how they impact the people around them, help them become better players, better teammates, and how they interact. So getting to see teams often one or two times, certainly in a short window, can help give us a nice, well-rounded, sense of what a team is, who these players are, how they, operate within their groups.
So as the events progress, whether it's day one, day two, day three, the championships, you have to look at things through different lenses.
Mm-hmm.
So if I know I'm going to an event where there's some really top tier players, I may not even really look at them on day one because I know that as we get closer to the championship, the blinders are going to get a little bit tighter and a little bit tighter. And I want to make sure that those teams that may not make the championship bracket get a good look. So for me, like, I like to look at individual players probably day one, day two, maybe half of day two. And then day three, because we do our all tournament teams and our MVPs, like, you do have to kind of hyper focus on who's gearing closer and closer towards the championship. So I try to keep it nice and wide on day one, maybe halfway through day two, depending on if everybody's in the morning wave or the afternoon wave. Like, it's a little bit tougher to see those players that may not be making it to the championship bracket. But it's a hard balance because we want to watch the best players play, but we also need to find new players that could be the next best player.
Oh, 100%. What are some of the things that, as you're picking those player highlights, that you're looking for to help promote those individual athletes?
So for me, I'm a big mechanics nerd. Like, I like to see good, clean mechanics, whether it's your approach, your blocking, whether it's shuffle blocking, swing blocking. I love players that work hard in transition. That's like my favorite thing to see, is players who are coming down off a block, hustling to transition, being available to attack. Even if they do take a swing and they don't score, they get back, they drop back on defense, or they get to the net and they block. Like, those players that grind 24/7 on the court, they're like exhausted by the end of the game. Those are the ones that I see the most, just because, like, I still have that coach's eye from coaching for so long. But I also look for those players that, no matter what the end result of the play is, their energy is high. They're picking up their teammates. They're moving on to the next point. That's another, like, it's a very, like, X factory, like, non-measurable thing that comes into play. But that can also be the difference between winning a game and losing a game.
Agreed. Do you think the coach's eye comes into that a little bit, where you're almost saying, like, would I recruit this player to play on my team?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. Like, if I see a player who's extremely talented, high-level player, and maybe their team is having a rough game and they're off on the side by themselves, not cheering for their teammates, not giving high fives, not making eye contact, just looks of frustration, that's a big red flag for me. Sure.
There's and it's a balance too, right? Like, those aren't necessarily the things that'll keep you out of rankings, because those are a bit more of like an individual talent-based thing, and results a little more objective, sure. But those in tournament daily profiles, certainly there's a little bit of creative leeway that we get to take, and where we get to choose the athletes that we get to promote and highlight within our ecosystem. I would have to agree. There's a little bit of element to that, as well as I'm, roving around the convention centers as well. So I definitely, I would say I agree with you on that element of the process that we take.
Oh yeah. And for me, like, if it comes down to two players and they're equally as talented, one is good energy, positivity on the court, and the other one is just frustration, not picking their teammates up, I know which one I would, if I had to pick between the two, I know which one I would pick, whether it's for Supernovas or if I'm a college coach looking for the next player for my program.
Absolutely. And it's a hard thing to do, because we don't get to choose outcomes. And as players, that was certainly something that we both had to learn. And so it is encouraging to watch the younger age groups and generations coming up playing. I think have not only the coaching to be able to develop in that area, those intangibles, some of those more emotionally high IQ skill sets and processes and ways of thinking about the game. But it's still hard. It's still the natural emotion of the game and the way that, we feel about things and how we're trying to achieve. So, it's certainly not like we're trying to kill anybody out here about being passionate and being emotional.
No, we've both had our share of cards and warnings and just, letting it out and moving on to the next point.
Yep.
But, passion for the game is something that you can't really measure, but you can see. And I think that's important.
Yeah.
One of our freelance writers, Allie, so we asked our writers what did they look for at the events, and her answer was pretty similar to what we've been talking about. Said passion for the game is easy to see, and there are players who stand out in terms of leadership, the way they treat their teammates, how other teams respect them. Are there skills that will translate as they get older or move up in divisions? And what is their ability to grow? Which I really like that answer, because when she says the word grow, I know she means more than physical or athletic growth. I think she means, like you said, emotional intelligence, game IQ. Like, how can I be a determining factor with my team, not necessarily just through a transition of skills?
When the pressure turns up on days where maybe you're 6-0, 7-0, and then all of a sudden you have to play a crossover match that determines whether or not you're playing in, a championship bracket or a non-championship bracket. And when everyone can serve well, when everyone can pass well, when everyone has offenses that can click at really high tempos, what separates each team? And sometimes it's not the teams that separate themselves. Sometimes it's just the natural intangibles and the uncontrollables of the game. But I would be willing to wager that the teams that are able to find their poise, find their cohesiveness with each other, and have that ability to stay calm under pressure is certainly something that is a consistent in most of the teams that we see achieve high success through this junior national process.
Yeah, and how many times have we been to a court, the game is tight towards the end, it's the deciding set, and maybe there's a questionable call that doesn't go their way, and either the coaches or the players or even the parents just have an absolute meltdown.
Yeah.
And, how you react to adversity in situations like that can be the determining factor in whether or not you make a championship bracket or win the championship, or you're down in silver or bronze or whatever is next underneath that.
Yep. Or trying to control the things you can't control, never going to work out. And there is still, I think we see a lot of athletes at the elite levels say things like, oh, we just have to flush it. We just have to wipe it. We have to get on to the next thing. And that's a hard thing to do. Very easy to say. But in those moments where it's high pressure, high intensity, the leverage couldn't be any more stacked up, being able to separate from your emotional reaction to things is a challenge. So we certainly, empathize.
We do. I mean, I think how you answer the call when adversity comes knocking is an extremely important factor, even when evaluating players for rankings, which we try to keep them as objective as possible. It's always going to play a determining factor, and I think that carries over to college recruiting as well. Culture now more than ever is so important to programs, because you could be the most talented player on the court, and if you have like a toxic energy about you, nobody's going to want you on their team.
Well, and don't you think that with how talented the overall field is, the space of juniors volleyball is, coaches have the ability to say, okay, I have these 5-6 hitters that are all exceptionally talented, very well trained, accomplished. They have all of their accolades individually. Their teams win. But how do they fit into what we're trying to achieve? Do they gel with the people that we have here? Do they have the ability to assimilate into a group where maybe they're not the go-to anymore. And there's a natural kind of recycling into these people being a little bit more of in a supporting role or in a growth role where they still have to develop into an athlete to be, on that level. It's an interesting process now, I would say, for sure.
Absolutely. And
But
I think
to that end,
with the with the free flowingness of the transfer portal right now, it makes it a little bit more difficult as well, because there are athletes out there that could be just as good as you, and if you don't fit with your program's culture, you could be out, and they could just bring somebody else in very quickly that's, in terms of development, is equal on par with you.
Or even maybe not has the technical development or polish, but they mesh well in terms of the culture. And one of the things I think that we've seen as athletes, as professionals in the workplace, people want to work with people they like. And for better or worse, there are a lot of people who may know more, may be able to do more. But if you don't get along with people and you don't find a way to ingratiate yourself with the folks that are doing the thing that you want to do as well, it may be hard to find yourself in those spaces because it's just hard to be around. That's a hard thing to say.
It is, but it's the truth that people live through every day.
There are less qualified people doing the jobs that folks that are more qualified are able to do, but they don't have the opportunity to do them to the capacity that they would like to because someone else likes someone else more. And that's an unfortunate component to life, is that not everyone's going to like you. Not everyone's going to love what you bring to the table in terms of your personality. Maybe you had a bad day and they misinterpreted what you had to say. You never know who's watching, is the moral of the story. And you never know who's taking in the very littlest things that you're doing, the things about your behavior, things about your character, or personality. We just don't know. So it's a hard thing to do, but cross the T's, dot the I's, mind your P's and Q's. Be nice to your parents. And that's a big one. If we see you belting it out with your parents on the side of a court, it's going to be really hard for us to want to keep you on a feature. So, or recruit you for our teams. So
I have a couple interesting stats here. So we sent out a survey to club directors and coaches asking which events they think are the most popular, competitive, and impactful. Kind of all encompassing. So the first most popular answer 93.3% of the coaches gave Triple Crown and USAV Nationals, which we both can assume was going to be the answer no matter what.
I'm just surprised it wasn't 100% for Triple Crown, to be honest with you.
I'm sure there are teams that have a little bit of like a salty attitude with Triple Crown. Maybe they don't get invited to the power pools, or they get seated lower than they think they should be. But for the most part, we are big Triple Crown NIT fans because it gets all the best teams in the same place at the same time. Does a lot of our work for us.
And they're expanding the spring event as well. They're adding another 128 teams or 200 teams. They're adding a second site. I don't know if you heard about that.
Are we talking about the one in Arizona?
No.
Oh, wow. So they're expanding Triple Crown, the NIT, to 2 sites.
The NIT will be expanded as I've understood it. I don't know if they've broken this news yet, so I may be telling tales out of school a little bit, but my little birdies tell me that there will be an additional site, more teams, and if I'm not mistaken, a process for those off-site teams, because they're not all going to be at the Kansas City Convention Center. They're going to be at another facility. However, those off-site teams, as I understand it, will have an opportunity to, after day one, battle their way to the, I think it's Bartle Hall there that they use. So big developments coming to that event, which already has a lot of love. So there's a great new process being initiated. I think this upcoming spring.
Damn, they're really putting in work because they also announced after your correct prediction that they will be adding a summer invitational in Mesa, Arizona as well next year.
There seems to be a sick fascination with putting these summer events in the hottest places in our country.
Yes,
That
no place I'd rather be in the
is
summer
not a
than
problem.
Arizona, Las Vegas, Orlando. Maybe we can just maybe they'll host a new tournament in like the Gobi Desert.
Yeah, or Death Valley, Palm Springs. Ooh, Palm Springs would be nice.
Palm Springs would be nice. Let's get back to these interesting votes
The
that the
events.
club
Yeah,
directors and
sorry to
coaches took.
derail
So
us.
the second most voted for events, both of them got 66.7% of the vote, was AAU Nationals and Big South Qualifier.
Yeah. I mean, AAUs, it's really hard to not love, given the fact that they're a true open championship, right? Put your hat in the ring, go get it. And then Big South is a massive event. It's missed my radar, but I know that's one that you get to go to quite a bit.
Yes, I think I've been there 4 out of the last 5 years. And I don't know if it's statistically accurate still, but for the longest time, it was the biggest qualifier out of all of them.
Was that in terms of just overall number of teams?
I believe so, yeah. Overall number of teams, overall size of the field for a qualifier. If I can remember correctly, I think last year, just in one of the open divisions, there was 60 teams.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
So big,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
field, big competition. This year, it didn't seem like as much geographical diversity in terms of where the teams were from, but the competition itself still very good.
You'd have to imagine. In terms of other events with big fields, not quite as much on the geographical diversity, but the Central Zone Invitational, which isn't a qualifier. I know it's kind of in our preseason run of coverage, but that's a huge event. The Midwest region really shows up for that 2-day sprint in February in Indianapolis. That's a really well attended event that I've gotten to go to for the past 2 seasons, I think, and it's a really strong event that I know that I'm happy to have on our schedule, because we get to see so many of the best teams, irrespective of what their affiliation is. So, we've talked about it. I know that there was some feedback from the survey about, some other affiliated events series that they'd like to have a little bit more coverage. So it's really nice to be able to get some of the JVA teams that maybe don't necessarily do as much on the USAV qualification track. We get to see some of we get to see the Muncianas. We get to see the I had the one right in my brain. Oh, the sports performances in teams like that, that choose to kind of do their competing on different tracks than what we get to cover all the time. So it really is nice, and it's the energy for the event is great. This past year there was a lot of the new LOVB teams doing representation and doing some appearances. So I got to, as I'm walking around, you get to see some players that, we covered in the past coming back, now as their college athletes and professionals. And it was pretty cool. So that is one of my early season favorite tournaments, just because it's quick and we get a lot out of it.
Oh yeah. Central Zones for me is it's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great chance for us to see the teams and the players early on, and they're really it's not a qualifier. So they're competing just for pride and bragging rights, but also it's a litmus test for those teams to see how good they are early on in the season. I wish there was 4 of them. Give me a Central Zone in every quarter of the country.
A regional in each, like a preseason regional in each zone would be fantastic, but also kind of a bear to try and cover.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we are so few, our staff, and most of the time it's going to be me or you. But I love the idea of Central Zone. It's just get the best teams in the area in the same place, let them battle it out, see what's what before really qualifier season starts, for the most part outside of the 18s. I love it. I love the idea of it. I love the coverage that we do of it. I like how competitive it is, the size of the event itself. To me, it's almost like a miniature Triple Crown NIT, but more geographically specific, but I just think it's a great event that if anybody has the opportunity to attend, they should.
Yeah, it's really great energy, and it's a quick one. It's 2 days. It's a Saturday, Sunday, so it's and Indy's kind of fun. So go check out the Kurt Vonnegut bookstore and museum. Good stuff.
Yeah,
good stuff.
That's good. That's good. All right, so we'll do one more of the votes. In third place with 60% of the votes was the Lone Star Classic and the Sunshine Classic.
Okay. Yep.
So kind of opposite sides of the South. You got one in Texas, one in Florida.
Yeah.
I will openly admit, I have never actually been to Texas.
Like as a human being?
As a human being, I've never
Really?
stepped over Texas. Yeah. No, despite how many events have been there and how many times we've sent writers there, I have never once been to Texas.
Oh, you're missing out. Really good barbecue down there.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I heard the barbecue's good. I heard the music is good.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's no excuse. Next year they're in Dallas, so I'll have to go no matter what.
There you go. Big D. Get down to the Metroplex. So it's interesting because those two qualifiers take place in some significant hotbeds of talent in the country. So the local flair at those is super high. Certainly at Lone Star, that has to be one of the most challenging events to walk into as somebody from outside either the North Texas, the Lone Star region, or the there's a third one in Texas. What's the one out west? It's not West Texas. Is it part of the southern? Is it part of the one with New Mexico rolled in there?
It may be. I'm trying to remember what the name of that region is.
I'm kind of blanking, and I'm very sorry to. You know what? I'm going to ring that up real quick while we're talking about this. But the what's it called? The Sunshine Classic. I would say the same thing. The OTVA squads from all over their purview usually have a really nice showing there, and then we get to see a lot more of the what's it called? The local flavor in Florida as well, and get to see a lot of the programs that I think maybe don't always get some of the love that they should. Winter Park has been putting together a couple of really nice programs lately. No Name, and then there's some other ones. Black Swamp, Jupiter Elite. Jupiter Elite had a really nice qualification season and national championship this season at a couple age groups this year. They put together a couple of pretty solid teams over the past few seasons. So
I think Miami Hype too is kind of on. It's one of those teams that's really that club that's trending upwards.
Yeah,
they have had some good younger groups through the years, the last couple seasons, and I just think that Miami area. I don't want to say it's untapped, but because the prevalence of beach volleyball as well, the indoor game maybe is starting to grow a little bit quicker now.
Yeah, and it does seem that a lot of the talent in Florida does seem to be gravitating towards the beach game, or sand, or however you want to classify it. It's Sun Country, West Texas, and New Mexico.
Sun Country,
which is an awesome name for a region.
It sounds like an airline that I would want to fly on.
There is one called Sun something, isn't there?
I don't know. Yes, there is, but I can't remember what it is.
I don't know. So all that to say, so from the survey, I'd have a hard time disagreeing with the way that those results kind of came in, because those events are all pretty top notch.
There's one that I think that people kind of missed in the top three, and that would be the Mid-East qualifier.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So I think in the last few seasons alone, the Mid-East qualifier has become one of the most competitive qualifiers of the season.
Yeah, I have a hard time choosing between that one and Windy City, because
I do like Windy City too.
Both of those qualifiers achieve some similar objectives within the region that they're pulling from, and I'm just looking at the calendar because I'm trying to remember which one comes first. I think it's MEQ. Yeah, it's MEQ. And this year it was in Indianapolis, but they move MEQ around the Midwest Ohio Valley region space. We've seen it in a couple different cities over the years. But Windy City, obviously, always in Chicago, and that one they do a really, really nice job with, for the most part. And the level of talent that's there is always really exceptional. So,
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean, Illinois, that whole area, not just Illinois, but that kind of Midwest area is just a hotbed for volleyball right now. First Alliance, even Sky High, who had one very, very good team this year. Adversities out there in Illinois, I
Yep.
think, and a couple
Yep.
other clubs.
Yep.
Just the talent there right now is definitely peaking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that kind of brings us to our next segment, which is 2024 superlatives. Kind of like the looking back at the yearbook of the season. So what do you think? Because you have a lot more foot traffic on you this season than I do.
I was at
What do you think?
10 events
Yeah,
this year.
so you alone covered 33% of our events, which is incredible.
A lot of steps.
And oh yeah. So what do you think was the most competitive event outside of nationals?
It's hard to not say Triple Crown for like all of these, just because of the nature of the event being an invitational and the concentration of talent and teams that are there. But I think I'll recuse them from the proceedings because they're not technically a qualifier. The most competitive, I'll throw this one out here because I think it probably is a little bit of a different answer than I normally would say. But let me pull this up real quick. Here it is. The 16s division at the Salt Lake City Showdown at the end of the year ended up being gross. So this is the final rundown here. It finished First Alliance 16 gold, Austin Skyline 16 royal, Legacy 16-1 Adidas, SCVC 16 Roxy, Arizona Storm 16 Thunder, Houston Skyline 16 royal.
Wow.
That's disgusting. So as far as a gold bracket goes, that was probably one of the most densely concentrated groups in the 17s that I was able to see. And honestly, it was a little surprising. But there were some other teams that were there that had really good weekends, played great, and just weren't able to crack that really, really strong threshold that was set by those teams.
Yeah, and I think as a new event, it's impressive to see a lot of those highly competitive clubs out there.
Yeah, it is. And it's interesting because it's a really new event, and where they put it on the calendar, I was a little surprised with, because the older age groups didn't go until a little bit later in the season. They were in April, mid-April. And then I think the youngers might have gone in March. Maybe it was earlier than that.
It may have been. I'm just
the one that we attended was in mid-April. Oh, it was earlier in the month. It was just the week before in Salt Lake City. So they split it up. There was only 2 age divisions, that we'd cover in each. So the 16s and 17s was really concentrated. But the 16s there, I thought personally was an absolute dogfight. And it was an exceptional showing. And then, jump over to the 17 side. We can keep it at that event. It was Arizona Storm 17s, Colorado Junior 17s, Austin Skyline again, Legacy again. And then it trickled down a little bit. And we saw a few more. We definitely saw in the 17s a little bit more of the parity in the division, for sure. But the 16s, that group was really, really bristling that weekend. So I'll go ahead and submit that as the most competitive, just because of the concentration of talent we saw at the top there. What about you?
See, I'm torn because I did like the showing for Salt Lake City, but for some reason this season MEQs is just like stuck in my head for everything.
Oh yeah.
And even our next superlative, which is like the most geographically diverse. Like I'm gonna read you just a few of the states from MEQs this year:
Mm-hmm.
Florida, California, Indiana, North Carolina, Ohio, Kansas, Michigan, Missouri, Wisconsin, Kentucky, Georgia, Virginia, Pennsylvania. It's like everybody from everywhere was there.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
think when you have that much geographic diversity, the competition like naturally becomes better.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, you want to elaborate on that?
So for like, there's teams that will play their entire qualifier season, maybe staying not in region, but maybe in that kind of section of the country. They're never going to see teams from like the Southeast or the Northeast. And those Northeast teams, a lot of them won't see teams from the Midwest or out West until the end of the season at nationals or like those last qualifiers of the season where teams are still kind of scrambling to get that bid.
Mm.
I think the diversity in geographic location creates a better, more competitive game because you don't see these teams that you're facing all season until that very moment that you play them.
Good point. It's a good point. We have. I would imagine that Big South was another event that had a decent showing from different regions and different sections of the country.
Big South, surprisingly, this season not as quote unquote diverse in terms of where the teams were from.
Okay.
I'm pulling it up now. Like the 16 Open Division, just looking at the finishes. NC Academy 16 Diamond got first. Northern Kentucky got second. Winter Park got third. Elevation fourth. A5 fifth. Like that alone in the top five, you basically are kind of sticking with the East Coast for the most part.
Sure.
I think the highest finishing team outside of the East Coast was TAV Houston, who finished fifth in the 16th division.
So it's that in this year, I don't know if that naturally occurs on the same weekend, but that was a busy weekend for qualifiers. So we had Big South, Windy City, and Red Rock that weekend. So, and maybe in years past it was different, but I can see where, the teams on the West Coast, they're not going to Georgia if they have Red Rocks. The teams from, and we talked about it, Windy City is an absolute, it's a big anchor for the schedule in the Midwest. So that tracks. That definitely makes sense. And then also, I missed this one. The Pacific Northwest qualifier was that same weekend. So, you're stratifying the West even more now. So that busy weekend, that's probably the second busiest weekend, third busiest weekend of the calendar.
Yeah, I think so. And that's one thing that
Talking like MLK weekend.
Yeah, and I get how scheduling kind of has to work with qualifiers. You're trying to work in holiday weekends, you're working in things where kids aren't going to miss a ton of school, things like that. But when you box yourself into these really tight schedules, like teams don't really have the opportunity to travel as far because of that. And again, we talked about this last week. We're talking about children. They have to be in school. Like you don't want your kids missing a ton of school for volleyball. But it seems like more and more every year the schedules are getting tighter and tighter. There's 2, 3, 4 qualifiers all in the same weekend, which obviously we can complain because we want to see as many as possible, and we can't do that when they're all in the same weekends. But I guess it's helpful because most of the time it works in with holidays and kids have off from school. But for us, it's tough because we want to see more all the time.
We do. And it does make it challenging to be able to weigh the I don't want to say weigh the weight because that sounds dumb, but it does make it challenging for us to be able to weigh how impactful each event is if we're not seeing a good strata of teams show up and ability levels and what they're trying to go for. Because there's only so many teams that are in that conversation for some of the top in the country. So it's interesting to see how congested the calendar is to some degree. Whether or not the ecosystem of qualifiers takes a turn and starts to whittle down, I don't know why it would. at this point. But we've talked about it before. The calendar is getting congested. And we're running out of places to send these kids to compete, to train, and they're running out of time on the calendar. Not to circle back to the conversation that we had, I think it was 2 weeks ago at this point, but let's pick up the calendar at January, new year. Well, club tryouts are already done. You're on your team. Now you're training, and then you're in January. So we have MLK weekend. Boom. That kicks everything off. And then, February hits and you're doing your pre-nationals run up, Triple Crown, events like that. And then it's qualification season. And then it's, 2 to 3 weekends a month in March and April. And it's a hard grind for those 2 months. And then May, June, you're still prepping for nationals. June, July, August, your high school season starts. September, October, November. And then it's club tryouts again. And sometimes there are teams trying out in that process that we just talked about there. So I don't know. It's a lot. I don't necessarily envy having to be doing all that competing and training.
No, it is an absolute grind, and I commend every kid that goes through it for 4 straight years before college, because it's a lot balancing that with school, with friendships, spending time with your family. It's a lot of sacrifice. And I think that's something that really should be commended. These kids are so committed that they're basically sacrificing almost every weekend, 2-3 nights a week for practice for most of the year. They get very short breaks in the summer, very short breaks in the winter, if that, and they're just go nonstop.
They are. We appreciate your efforts.
Yeah, without them, we wouldn't even be able to do what we do. So,
do we have anything else to talk about with these events?
Yeah, we have a couple more real fun ones here. So,
okay.
Let's skip the boring stuff and go straight to which qualifier or which event had the best food.
Is this a in the convention center, or is this in the area?
In the area. I want to talk let's talk about host cities, who has the best food in terms of regional cuisine, best restaurants within walking distance of the convention center, the hotels. I want to know what you think. Which event has the best food in the area?
It's a really good question. The food element for most places, I think for me, kind of just comes down to a matter of, can I get something decent in the short amount of time that I have between convention center, getting back to the hotel, and starting to write, and vice versa. But Kansas City, barbecue in Kansas City, you're really not gonna get too much of it. And again, and I know it's not a qualifier, so I apologize. Oh wait, that's not true. Show Me was there. Okay,
that's right.
I'm exonerated. I forgot that was one of the ones I was at. So I would say Kansas City, I really enjoy. I love barbecue a lot. After that, again, not a qualifying city this year, but being in Las Vegas, you have access to everything. So at national championships, take your pick, and the restaurants at all the resorts most of the resorts are really, really good. So.
Oh yeah, Vegas is it's like cheating. You can get anything you want there, any type of cuisine, and it's most likely going to be top quality.
Yep, it is. It is. Even the little things, just like the sandwiches and stuff like that. It's just got a little extra panache to it, I guess.
Oh, absolutely. So for me, it's kind of I feel like it's a lame answer, but it's a true answer. NEQs. No question. Cheesesteak capital of the world. I love a good sandwich. I love a good cheesesteak. I love a good dipped beef from Dick's at Reading Terminal Market.
I would like to try and get back up to NEQ at some point, because I haven't been to Reading Terminal Market in a number of years. And when I first started coaching and being in the Northeast, every year, like NEQ was the event that you had to go to because it's in your backyard. You got to get there. You got to recruit that. And the trips to Reading Terminal Market are just they're legendary.
Oh, and it's expanded too. They have
Has it really?
new food places, like the fudge, the candy, everything, dude. It's like a one-stop shop if you want to just like stuff your face, go back to your hotel, write your article for the night, and then just fall asleep completely bloated.
Well, you know what? Maybe don't send me there because there's a chance that I wouldn't get in. I'd just be eating, just making laps.
I mean, I will say between waves, I may have snuck out, got a dipped beef, came back, snuck out again, got a cheesesteak. Like it's not good for my cholesterol being in Philly for any cues.
Yeah, but you're getting all those steps in.
I am. So I guess those balance out. They cross each other out.
100%. Okay, so
Denix, I love you.
We are not sponsored by Denix. They have not bribed us for this. So what's your go-to cheesesteak in Philly then? It doesn't have to be at Reading Terminal, but
so I'm not one of those people that's gonna say one is better than the other is better than the other.
No.
I like to rotate.
Your favorite, your go-to.
I think it depends on what I want. So I love Pat's and Geno's are your stereotypical two, but I find that Geno's is a little bit greasier, a little bit more melty than Pat's. So
Hot
if I want
take.
something that's a little sloppy,
Hot
I go
take.
with
I don't think
Geno's.
either of them are that good.
Well, that's like if everyone has to go there to both of those places at least once just to make a decision between the two.
It's the pilgrimage.
Yeah, exactly. It's the cheesesteak pilgrimage. But I don't know if there's a place where you can go wrong with a cheesesteak in Philly. Like every place is on their game when it comes to cheesesteak.
There's a place in Old Town. It's kind of off the beaten path from like the downtown area and all that. You know, you kind of have to go to the historical part of Philly, or down past it, like past Betsy Ross's house and where all the Benjamin Franklin stuff is. Excuse me, but it's called Sonny's, and it's a little shop. You go in, awesome bread, great meat, and they have a bunch of different options for cheese and all this and that, and it's just a super simple menu, but everything's really high quality. So go Philly. All right, where are we at? We're going to do
a fun little segment called Mount Rushmore. Sam, I want to know your all-time 4 favorite events that would go on your Mount Rushmore.
Ooh, do they have to be qualified? I'm assuming these are qualifiers.
No, you don't. They don't have to be qualifiers. But let's not include at least nationals. So you can put Triple Crown in if you want to put Triple Crown in. Just not nationals.
No, that's fair. Okay. So I would say, and I've kind of listed these off already a little bit. But I would put Triple Crown on there just because it is what it is, and I think before nationals, if I can't put nationals, that's probably the closest thing that you're going to get. So I would put that on there. I would stick in the Windy City. I enjoy the city of Chicago as a destination. I have some friends there that I like to visit when I'm in town. The food's good, the competition's good, all around good event. And then I'll go up to NEQ. I will soft spot. I have to. It's where I cut my teeth learning how to do so many things in the game. Reading Terminal Market, awesome. And then I know this is a kind of a cop out, but I think I'd like to keep my 4th event as a rotating event that I can kind of pick and go to see some events that I haven't been to before. I know, but I haven't been to PNQ before, which is one that I'd like to get up to. And then there are some new events that keep popping up and some other things that I'd like to go see. So I'll cop out on the 4th one, and I'll take a rotating event. Yeah. What about you?
I'll allow it.
All right.
That's
Thank
fine.
you. Appreciate.
So obviously Triple Crown's got to be in there.
Got to be.
Because it's basically the best major event that is not a qualifier or a national championship.
Yeah.
I'm also going to agree with NEQs just because we're from the Northeast.
Yeah.
We love the Northeast, and there's no better place to get a sandwich.
There's not.
3rd one, I'm going to throw you a curveball. Capitol Hill.
Ooh.
Capitol Hill Classic.
Sticking on the East Coast.
So another non-qualifier, but I think the facility they use, I think it's the Walter E. Washington Convention Center, beautiful, easy in and out flow for parents, players, coaches, whatever. But I also think the food and the sites in DC are phenomenal as well.
Sure.
And it's pretty decent in terms of like airport, pretty easy to get to. And I love going to Chinatown in DC. It's one of my favorite places to visit.
Yeah, good spot. And it's close by to the convention center too.
Yes, sir.
It's only a couple blocks.
So that's my first three. Number 4, that's a tough one.
DC also has a ton of teams too. That's another thing.
They do. It's like it's Metro kind of has the market cornered on Capitol Hill, although you never know who wants to pop in there. The only tough thing is I think that's also President's Day weekend, so
it is
kind of thins out the herd a little bit.
It does.
I'm gonna say MEQs, Mid-East qualifier.
Yeah.
The point that you brought up earlier that they do move it around, so you get to be in a different place every once in a while. The competition is always good. We get to see like the heart of the country compete, which is always awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna go with MEQ as my fourth.
I'll throw a little bit of an apology out for the West Coast or the anything west of the Rockies, because we didn't get out there that much this year.
I was gonna say Crossroads in Denver, but it's just not a qualifier anymore. And they kind of, after what happened, nobody really talks about it anymore. But it used to be a really fun time and a great qualifier.
It was the biggest qualifier, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think Big South took that over after they pulled its qualifier status. But the city of Denver, outside of how far away the airport is, always a good time. The competition was good. We had a very good working relationship with them as well before I guess I could just say before COVID. So everything.
That's when everything happened. And
but
then,
I like Denver as a city. Well, I did. I haven't been there in years now, but
it's I spent 3 years out there, at least when I started doing this. So I mean, it's a nice city, nice people. As you say, the airport's a little far away from downtown. It would be nice to see. It'll be interesting to see if the Salt Lake City Showdown can attain the level of competition that Crossroads did. They're still new. I think they're still figuring out what the identity of that event's going to be. Like I said, this year was a good turnout for the 16s, and there was good competition there, but a little bit smaller fields. And I don't know if that's because of where it is on the calendar, or just that there weren't as many teams that needed a bid, because we ran through the 16 Open qualifier, or teams that finished at the top of the table, and I think all of them except like 1 or 2 had already qualified. So
you get your trickle down bidonomics in after that.
Oh my gosh, that was a great article. That was a fun one. But yeah, no, it is a shame. Crossroads is one of the events on the calendar that I never got a chance to go to as a coach, as a recruiter for college. And then, with this, I think the year I came in was the first year of Salt Lake City. At these qualifiers, we talked about a lot of steps, a lot of time spent. What are some of the things that you have to have with you at these events to help you get through the day, get the job done, and maintain your feeling like a human being?
So like my desert island event items?
Yeah, like if you were, trapped at the convention center all day, what do you need with you to survive?
That is a great question. First thing right off the bat, metal water bottle. I bring it with me everywhere. It's great because you can take it to the airport empty, and they have water bottle filling stations now, which is awesome. And most of the convention centers have them too, or they have like the big water things you can use there. Hydration when you're walking as much as we do and watching as much volleyball as we do is extremely important.
Key.
Because they also are just pumping in clean, dry air all the time in those. So you got to make sure you're staying hydrated, because like it's going to sound very diva-ish, but like dry air all the time, terrible for my sinuses. like real bad. So I got to make sure I stay hydrated because you think about it, like they're pumping in air in the hotel rooms, they're pumping in air in the convention centers, they're pumping in air in the airplanes. Like it's just dry, like artificial air. Water becomes extremely important. So definitely item number one is my metal water bottle. Number two is going to be my Hokas, my walking shoes. Without those, I think I would probably quit because my dogs will be barking so hard. So shout out to Hoka for making extremely supportive walking shoes that also look very cool.
Sponsor us,
please.
All right. Well, how many is that? Is that like 3?
So that's 2. I got my metal water bottle, my Hokas. I would say, and again, it's going to sound very diva-ish. I have a caffeine eye roller.
A caffeine
eye roller. So it's like a roller ball that you rub under your eyes. Gives you a little bit of caffeine, a little bit of vitamin C in the morning. It just like it helps me wake up, gives me a lot of energy, so that way I don't have to pound like 2-3 coffees before I get into the convention center.
Does that count as a performance enhancer? Do we have to test you now?
It definitely makes me look better because I don't have bags under my eyes.
Is that a banned substance?
Caffeine's totally fine. Vitamin C, totally fine.
Okay.
Most days that's what I run off of anyway. So
true. All right, one more.
I'm gonna say my headphones, my Beats, the ones I'm wearing now, or I have another pair as well that I have. I used to wear the earbuds, especially on an airplane, but it's starting to mess with my ears because I'm getting older. And everything messes with my hearing now. But I have to have my Beats. I wear them all the time in the convention center, on the airplane. I'll throw on a podcast when I'm working on notes from the events, stuff like that. Like, just helps me focus, keeps me energized, keeps me moving.
For sure. Those are some good items. Those will get you through.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Water, caffeine, vitamin C, music, shoes.
Easy. I like sleeves on the plane, in the hotel, in the convention center. Like you say, the air quality, the air is usually really cool, which is great. I just like to find a little homeostasis with the warmth. So a good set of sleeves. And then I wear contacts. I know I got the glasses, but in the convention center, it seems like anytime I wear glasses, I always get hit in the face with a volleyball. Does not matter.
That's funny because the same thing happens to me with iced coffee.
The eye drop. I like to wear eye drops because I wear contacts at the event center. So all that draw, again, it's an air quality thing, and I just eyes get a little tired. Drop them up. We're ready to go.
Well, you got to think about this too. Like, you're constantly moving your eyes, watching different teams, different players. It's bright lights, dry air, and then once the event's over, we go back to the hotel. Dry air. You're staring at an LED screen for hours. Like it does. Your eyes take a beating at these events.
They do. But we're built different. We got it. And then the last thing is I like to bring my some of my supplements with me. So I make sure I bring vitamin D, magnesium, and a couple of other things that kind of just keep the immune system baseline and gives you a little extra pep outside of the caffeine and stuff, just because they are long days, and we can't get sick while we're out here. Gotta power through. So those are my things. I try and travel light. I try and go light into the convention center, so those are my things.
Oh yeah. If I can help it, I'm bringing just a backpack for like 3-4 days.
Oh yeah.
No carry-on, no check bag, obviously, because it's only a few days, but like I have one of those travel backpacks that has like expandable, has little compartments inside.
Oh.
If any company makes those that wants to sponsor the podcast, please reach out to us at editor@prepvolleyball.com. Luggage sponsorship, backpack sponsorship would be awesome. Hoka as well. Please, Hoka.
They probably want more of the athletes. They don't care about us.
Well, we whatever.
Well, I'm just saying.
We support the athletes. They support us by giving us supportive shoes.
Well, there's the tagline for the ad right there.
Support
Okay.
us, supporting you.
Dear Hoka,
Okay.
Jimmy will wear your shoes. I will say contractually nice things about them.
Yeah. Maybe they'll come out with like custom Sam Heyman barefoot Hokas.
Hoka X Vivo Barefoot.
I like it.
Those concepts clash. They bump.
It's the future collaboration.
All right. So I think we got like one or two more things, quick things that we can hit.
Yes.
We've got just a fun little quick rapid fire, this or that. I may have misunderstood the assignment, so
I'm still gonna answer them. I don't care.
no, you're going to answer the ones I have for sure because I've got some good ones here. But yours may have been directed a little bit more towards qualifiers.
Yes, it's a little bit more subject relevant, but probably not as fun as what you're gonna ask me. So should we go with mine first?
Why don't we keep it to business first? Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I'm gonna give you two options. You have to pick this or that. Then the next question will be the option that you chose and another competitor.
Yes.
All
Okay.
right.
It's like a knockout.
Here we go.
Okay.
Yes. Knockout. Northern Lights or Sunshine Classic?
Northern Lights.
Northern Lights or Northeast Qualifier?
Northeast qualifier.
Northeast Qualifier or Mideast Qualifier?
Mideast qualifier.
Mideast Qualifier or Red Rock Rave?
Ooh. Mideast qualifier.
That's what I would have gone with too.
Yeah.
Mideast Qualifier or Pacific Northwest Qualifier?
Oh. I haven't been there yet, so I don't feel like I can say I'd pick it over Mideast qualifier. So I'll stick with Mideast qualifier. Yeah.
Okay. Mideast Qualifier or Big South?
Mideast qualifier. I haven't been to Big South either.
Big South, Hot Atlanta is a good time.
It's just I think the past 3 years since I've been here with Prep, it just hasn't been on my calendar. And then when I was recruiting, it would always come on a weekend where we had something else up in the region.
Maybe you can this next club season coming up.
Maybe
Hot Atlanta.
Maybe.
All right, here we go. So we're still at MEQs, right?
Yeah. Yep.
MEQs or Windy City?
Windy City.
Windy City or Lone Star Classic?
Windy City.
Windy City or Salt Lake City Showdown?
Windy City.
Windy City or Show Me Qualifier?
Windy City.
Windy City or Far Western?
Oh, Windy City.
So I'm going to throw a couple last minute ones in because either the 18s qualifiers. Windy City or Boston Volleyball Festival?
Windy City.
Windy City or Music City?
Windy City.
Yeah, I would go Music City. Well, if it was still in Nashville, I'd go with Music City. I love Nashville.
Oh,
my wife loves Nashville.
I live near Nashville now. That would be very convenient.
Wouldn't it, dude? I told Northeast Qualifier. I take a 40-minute train ride every day. I get to go home and sleep in my own bed. It's great.
100%. 100%. I'd only be like 20 minutes from the convention center. So
Sierra Qualifier or MEQs or Windy City?
Windy. I've never been to Sierra.
I don't think I have either, actually.
No.
Which is is that Northern California or Southern California? SCVA? NCVA?
No, I think Sierra is up like where
the northern.
Is. Yeah.
So looks like Windy City is the winner for
you. Of the ones you gave me, yeah.
Which is all of them. I went through all of them.
Yeah, Chicago. It's Chicago. It's the concentration of talent. I will say Lone Star was close.
It's the deep dish.
Honestly, you want to know something? I'm much more of a
thin crust.
Yeah. I will. I don't know what that beep was. Sorry. I'm much more of I like the tavern style because then I can eat more.
Crunchy, crispy crust.
That's the thing is the deep dish is great every now and then, but if you have 2 slices of that, you're done eating for 48 hours.
Oh yeah, it's like eating a casserole.
It is. The crust on deep dish though is if you're in the right space for it. Ooh. Yeah. Okay. So as I said before, I may have misinterpreted the assignment with the questions on this or that. Your this or that is you're getting a rapid fire of just questions.
Just random
More
questions.
more aimed at your personality.
Okay.
So that people can kind of get to know our head writer a little bit more.
Oh, great. That's what I want out of this whole thing.
I'm on the street beating my feet going to all these qualifiers, so you can give a little bit of the behind the scenes.
That's fair.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
All right, I'm ready.
All right. Early to rise or night owl?
Early to rise.
Cake or pie?
Cake.
Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Arena concert or smaller intimate club show?
Smaller intimate club show.
And this is for concerts. That's not anything sketchy. Everybody relax.
Right. Yeah.
Indoor this is to play. Indoor or grass or sand?
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
If I pick grass, can it be trips or quads?
It is just sand or grass is together.
Doubles?
So it's outdoor.
Oh.
And you can, I don't care how many players there are as long as it's not 6.
I would do grass quads. So I only have to do a quarter of the work.
Okay. Yeah. Pork roll or Taylor ham?
It's pork roll.
Yeah, it is. Thank you.
I will die on this hill.
Yeah.
John Taylor created pork roll, attempted to get it copyrighted. And he tried to copyright the term pork roll, which means he said it was pork roll. I don't care what anybody else says. That's history. It's in the books.
It's on the packaging.
It is.
It is. So all of whoever calls it Taylor ham, that's the referendum right there. You're done. You're done.
Like any of them, none of them are listening anyway.
That's okay. They're probably too busy trying to order Taylor ham, egg and cheese.
Yeah. You know what? But now the country knows that it's pork roll.
Well, hopefully at least some people are up to speed. That's all I got.
Excellent ending.
Thank
Pork
you.
roll.
Thank you. Yeah, it's all pork roll. So on the way out of the door here, we do have the calendar kind of flipping over a little bit. We got a couple more weeks, and the high school events are going to be coming up soon. So we're going to be taking our focus towards some of the upcoming events that we will be covering on our high school coverage routes. And we've got some other stuff coming up in the next few weeks here that will kind of shift that spotlight over to the high school circuit coming up.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll do a full announcement of what events we're going to be going to. We got a pretty good amount this year, covering a lot of different places.
Some new events,
new ones. Maybe one or two new ones, but definitely like the traditional ones as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually have an event that we're going to be sponsoring this year as well,
which is new.
Yes. I think we attended last year, but it's newer because it's only been around for like what, 2-3 years.
I think this is either 2 or 3.
Yeah, because I think they asked us to come 3 years ago, but we already had something scheduled that weekend. But now, we're actually sponsoring the event ourselves, so we will be there, and it'll be a good time.
Exciting. That's exciting. Yeah. And the format seems to follow another event that we go to and that we really love going to cover. So I'm curious to see what that flavor looks like at this new spot, which we'll get into in coming episodes.
Flavor.
It's all about the flavor.
So thus concludes the pod. Thank you, everyone, for listening and supporting Prep Volleyball. We will see you, and you will hear us next week.
Peace, love. Be nice to people.